Nearly every team in Raid has a 3% fail rate if it relies on debuffs? What? Guys, this is insane. Here are some champions that make that statement untrue, okay? So today we're going to be looking at irresistible champions. They are champions that place buffs regardless of accuracy. There will be no fail rate on them. So the first thing you need to know is that in Raid, every debuff that you're placing, no matter if you have way too much accuracy or anything like that, you still have a 3% fail rate. However, our champions that circumvent, let's have a look at them. But before we have a look at them, have a look at that link down below, which will give you Karato Fox Hunter and 4 free epics. So you'll get Karato right after you finish the tutorial, and then you're going to get Uugo, Tagoar, Rector, Drath, and Mausoleum Mage. 4 excellent epics and 1 absolutely super legendary. Now, so let's get looking at these irresistible champions, guys. So we'll go into the index and we'll check it out, okay? First of all, probably one of the OGs for irresistibility, I think, anyway, is this gentleman, and he's not in the high elves at all. He's in the dark elves, I believe, and that is none other than Ghostborn. Okay, so Ghostborn is a Spirit Affinity legendary in the Dark Elves faction. Pretty cool champion. I have him on my main account. Why is he better than Lydia in a lot of endgame teams? Okay, so let's have a look at his kit. He has a faction crypt aura by 65%, not 65%, just 65, extra 65 points in accuracy. Attacks one enemy, 50% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns on his A1, okay? Then he has on his A2, attacks all enemies and has a 100% chance of playing 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns, and that is when it's booked and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. And then this is the pièce de résistance, and it is attacks all enemies, has a 75 booking to 100% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. This debuff cannot be resisted and also places a 50% increase attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. So he does not, for this move here, he does not need any accuracy, and as long as he has 100% chance, if he tries this, he will get this, because that is irresistible, guys. And that's why Ghostborn is actually more reliable on endgame seer teams. So the seer composition, you know, the way you get buffed, you put out your debuffs, seer rips them all off and nukes them. That there. With Lydia, if she fails to place, if you're relying on her and she fails to place some of her debuffs, you could also fail your runs. That's why Ghostborn can actually be better and replaces Lydia in some endgame teams. So that's Ghostborn, guys. He's our first champion with the irresistibility. Now, my favorite, I think, yeah, my favorite, I would say, my favorite that I have anyway, is in the Knight's Revenant. Okay, so can anybody guess who it is? It is Walking Tomb Dreng. So Walking Tomb Dreng is an awesome champion, awesome looking champion. And guys, read his lore. His lore is amazing. It's actually pretty dark as well. So why is Dreng so good? Attacks one enemy 2 times, instantly activates any HP burn debuffs on the target after attacking. Incredibly good HP burn activation on a single target. Balances HP, so basically brings all the levels of all allies up to the level of the champion with the highest HP. Okay, so actually this is that's kind of an irresistible skill as well, guys, because even if somebody has heal reduction on them, that will go through it. So always remember that HP equalize or equalized HP circumvents heal reduction. Really good tip, that one. Now this is the big ticket though. Attacks all enemies, 75 booking to 100% chance of placing an AoE HP burn, all enemies 2 turns and cannot be resisted. So irresistible HP burn, guys, that's massive. It is so big. You really can't overlook that, because that is the only move in his kit that would have required accuracy. Had it not been irresistible, it means you can really focus on getting him to be really tanky and really like resistible, so he has a lot of resistance, not that he can be resisted. He's my big pick for Ice Golem hard 10. I prefer him over Artak because I can build him so resistible, and he has the irresistible thing. I don't need to build any accuracy in his kit, and he just works a dream for what I need him for, guys. So that's number 2 on the irresistible champions list. He is absolutely brilliant. That's Walking Tomb Dreng. Next up, we have another irresistible champion, and this one makes Sand Devil 100% if you have the right team. Okay, so I have a very fast Sand Devil team that I absolutely love. However, because it is based around the sleep debuff, there's only, I believe, one champion in the entire game that can make it 100%. Every other team without this champion, I believe, only be 97% successful if it is based around the sleep debuff. Okay, so that champion is none other than Siphi. Now, it is a little bit conditional, but it is irresistible. So this needs no accuracy, attacks one enemy, and has an 80% chance, booking to 100, of placing a sleep debuff for 1 turn if the target's turn meter is equal to or above 50%. Now, the Sand Devil is quite fast, so it's likely going to have above 50% turn meter. If not, you have to adjust your speed tune. This debuff cannot be resisted, heals all allies by 5% of their max HP if the target's turn meter is below 50%. So we don't want that bit. We want the turn meter above 50, and she plays an irresistible sleep. So you don't need any accuracy in her kit, because everything else is a buff and a revive and a heal. So you don't need any other any accuracy in her kit at all, because this is irresistible. So Siphi is huge, not just for that, but for a variety of reasons. But this is an absolutely excellent move, especially for Sand Devil. Next up, we have one that I love to pair with Dreng, actually, and they're in the High Elves. So we have, any guesses? Elenaril. Okay, so Elenaril, well-known poison exploder. Okay, so yes, technically that is irresistible. She doesn't need any accuracy to explode poison. So there's a second tip. I think the last one was that HP balancing circumvents heal reduction, but poison explosion. So Elenaril and Xavia and the likes, they do not need accuracy for that move, okay? So for the poison explosion move. However, that's not what I'm talking about. She has the poison explosion. She has the poison placing. On the A1, she also places a HP burn debuff for 2 turns, and this debuff cannot be resisted. So if you were to ignore this, you could go in with the explosion and the HP burn, and she would not need any accuracy at all. And she is incredibly good. She has an aura for faction crypts by 24%, but it's not going to do you much good. You'd have to build all your champions for less crit rate in faction crypts. Now, this is why I love pairing her with Dreng, because if you think about it, she can just A1. If you have a single target boss, right, she can go in A1 every turn, just switch everything else off. Every turn she's going to place a HP burn, and then Dreng, if you can manage it right, Dreng is going to come in and he's going to A1 as well. You can switch everything else off, and he's just going to activate the HP burn. So the two of them going back to back are just going to place HP burn, activate HP burn, place HP burn, activate HP burn, and you're going to see that health bar come down very, very swiftly indeed. So that is a really, really good combo there. I love it, and I've been trying it out on a few things. Might have a wee video coming up for you now on some nice bosses that's going to work real well on. So keep an eye out for that one, guys. Going to be an insane duo to use. Next up is in the Barbarian faction, and who like genuinely, I don't think anybody will guess who this is. I really don't think so. I think a lot of people looking at this would maybe go for our mans. They might guess Loki or Archer or Odin. No, it is Elder Skarg. Elder Skarg is actually a really good champion. Now, would I want him on the free to play? I'd hope for better. But in a pinch, he's really, really good. He does provide an AoE HP burn debuff for 2 turns. But it's conditional, okay? So he places an extra hit for each buff or debuff on the target and can place up to 3 extra hits. If he does them all, he does an AoE HP burn, okay? And steals all the buffs from the target after the attack. Okay, so that's why I think he's good. But this is the irresistible bit. So places a 60% increased defense buff on this champion for 3 turns. Okay, places a fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn, and then this gets a bit complicated. Not really complicated, but places a true fear debuff for 1 turn on targets under block damage. So if they block damage, they get true fear. Decrease speed if they have for 2 turns if they have a shield buff, and these debuffs cannot be resisted, so they're irresistible debuffs. He's placing increased defense on himself for 3 turns and doing an irresistible either true fear or decreased speed based on any buffs they have on them, the enemy has on them. Also then places a provoke debuff on legendary champions for 1 turn. So not a bad CC champion at all. He has a few things in his kit that are pretty nice, but he probably definitely needs an upgrade for 2025. Nice kit, but needs a little love, needs to be hit with the buff hammer. So next up, guys, we have another excellent champion, staying with the barbarian faction. This one's a little bit cheating probably, okay, I have to admit, but it is Dune Lord Greggor. Dune Lord Greggor is the only faction champion, faction lord, whatever you want to call them, that I have, and I have him twice. Okay, so yeah, but he places provoke on the A1, he does AoE attack, decreases enemy buffs and increases ally buffs by 1 turn on the A2, also supplies a shield. Now we also then on the A3 have increase attack and increase accuracy. This move, when with the right team, is insane. People don't realize how good this can be, okay? So increase attack, increase accuracy, fantastic with bomb champs, right? Then with 1 more barbarian, decreases the cooldown of all ally skills except his own by 1 turn. With 2, he does a turn meter fill by 20%. So now he's a turn meter booster and giving you increased attack and increased accuracy. So I like to pair him with 2 other barbarians and Nishak, and Nishak then is getting increased attack and increased accuracy and his turn meter boost, and you're saying bye bye enemy team. And then if you have 3, he gives an instant turn effect to the ally with the highest crit damage as well. Now, no irresistible in there, right? This is where it's at. So when attacked, has a 20% chance of placing a provoke debuff on the attacker for 1 turn, which occurs once per hit. Okay, so if he's hit twice, he gets, I was going to say he gets a 40% chance, but he doesn't. He gets 2 20% chances, which is not the same thing, okay? So 1 faction ally deals 25% more damage to enemies under stun, sleep, fear, true fear. So that is, that's basically a damage boost to anybody under CC. 2 faction allies basically ignores 50% of a target's resistance when applying any CC, and that's for all your allies on your team. And then the third one, with 3 faction allies, when counterattacking, instant effects and debuff placed by ally skills cannot be resisted or blocked. So he is the only champion in the game that potentially makes the rest of the team irresistible. How good is that? So if you have him on there with the likes of Elder Skarg's conditional stuff there could actually be irresistible. Now I'm thinking about that, and they're on the A3, so it doesn't quite work out like that. But he is the only champion in the game that can potentially make other champions irresistible. And that is really, really good. It's just very, very niche and situational. And I do think he's another champion that needs a bit of love. However, the Barbarian faction is one that definitely does not need a bit of love. So he probably won't get it for quite a while. Now, moving on, we have two more, and they are in the Dark Elves faction, guys. Now, there are more champions than this, so you let me know what I've missed out. Have I missed out your favorite irresistible champion, or even, not even your favorite, a niche pick? I love to see an L niche pick. So let me know in the comments below, guys, if I've missed out on any of yours. And I'm just thinking now, are Dark Elves the faction with the most amount of irresistible champions? I think they are. So this one is Astralith, okay? Astralith is known for being a super sneaky pick for Arena. Now, why is that? On the A1, fills turn meter of a random ally by 15, fills turn meter of all allies by a further 15 if it's critical. Okay, great. The A3, exchange HP, target enemy, then attacks with the default with the A1, can't be used by a boss, gains an extra turn and decreases the cooldown of this skill by 3 turns if this champion's HP drops below 20% when attacked. Okay, great. A2, however, this is where it's at. So you'll see it is just a 100% chance, doesn't need booking at all, attacks one enemy, places 2 bomb debuffs that detonate after 1 turn. This debuff cannot be resisted. So you do not need any accuracy on Astralith. So if you're building Astralith for Arena, what you do, you just basically build speed and attack. Okay, so her attack is her attack is decent at 1487. Her speed is okay at 102, and basically you just go to the optimizer, go to balanced mode, priority 1 and 2, attack and speed, and you build Astralith like that. And she goes, you maybe want to get her to go maybe second, or you could have her go first and then the next and the debuff spreader second. She places the irresistible bombs out, they go on to one person, and your next person goes, and that's a debuff spreader, and the debuff spreader doesn't need accuracy either because the bombs that she's spreading are irresistible. They go onto the entire enemy team and they detonate after 1 turn. So the minute your enemy team takes a turn, everybody is dead. That is a crazy strong team, and don't forget, bombs can even be placed over stone skin, so there's very little that can stop this winning if you win the speed race. Incredibly good, guys, and a champion that I have tinkered about with a few times. And actually, just going through this list, I need to build up all of these champions and just make one irresistible team. It'll be so much fun. Now, the last is possibly my favorite, is a champion that I don't have, but I tell you, I was thinking the other day, out of all of the champions on the free to play that I could possibly get, I think this champion might actually do the most for any team because of what they bring, because of what their irresistible stuff does. All right, and that is a champion that gets kind of poo-pooed on because there was 4 of them released at the same time, and they were Supreme Aethel, Supreme Elhain, Supreme Gallic, and Supreme Kael. And Kael is the one that I'm talking about today. So he is absolutely awesome. It's just really endgame accounts overlook how good he is. All right, so attacks all enemies, so AoE A1 is always excellent. Has a 50% chance of placing a 25% weakened debuff for 2 turns. This debuff cannot be resisted on the A1, guys. Okay, now that books up to a 75% chance. So that's the only caveat with this move, is even though you do not need any accuracy, you also have a 25% that it won't land. because it's not a 100% chance, okay? Still irresistible, but you don't have a 100% chance. Now, on the A2, attacks all enemies again, 75% chance, booking to 100% chance of placing 3 poison, big poison debuffs for 2 turns. These debuffs cannot be resisted. So 100% chance and cannot be resisted. He is excellent. Also increases the duration of all enemy debuffs by 1 turn. This effect cannot be resisted. So we've only looked at 2 moves so far, and he has 3 irresistible effects out of 2 moves. That's insane. It is insanely good. Imagine having him early game on Clan Boss. You are winning. All right, you have your weaken irresistible, you have your poisons that then for poisons for 2 turns that then get increased to 3 turns, as well as any other debuffs on the Clan Boss. Then you come along with your A3, okay? And this is where he becomes a big team player. Attacks all enemies, places a 50% increase accuracy on all allies for 2 turns before attacking. So that means your team need way less built-in accuracy, so you can build them more survivable. Then it gets even better, has a 75% chance, booking to 100, of placing a 50% decrease resistance debuff on all enemies for 2 turns. So your team's getting more accuracy and the enemy team is getting less resistance. So your chances of landing buffs with your team have just skyrocketed, guys. Absolutely skyrocketed. This debuff cannot be resisted. So irresistible decrease res is just, it makes so much sense. I think all decrease res champions should nearly be irresistible, okay? Fills this champion's turn meter by 10% for each decrease res debuff placed by this skill. Okay, so he's getting however many, if there's 5 enemies, he's getting a 50% turn meter fill, and that's 100% chance on a 3-turn cooldown. That's on a 3-turn cooldown, and that's his A1, so it's never on cooldown. And then decreases each target's accuracy, crit rate, and crit damage by 3% for each poison debuff on them, and if it'll only activate once for Kael. Okay, it won't happen if there's more than 1 Kael on the team. But I think that makes him the best irresistible champion in the game. Everything on every skill is irresistible. I'm going to be pulling void shards, well, at least 1 in the next few minutes on my free to play, guys. And yeah, if I get this guy, he is being built straight away. I am not even thinking about anything else. He is amazing with all of that irresistible stuff. So guys, that's my favorite irresistible champions. Let me know who I've missed out. Click on that link below, support the channel, get your free champions for your new account, and like and subscribe while you're down there. See you in the next one, guys. Bye bye.